Amazing. Hello, everyone. Hello, AP. I always joke that I am at home. So yes, hello. Welcome to the talent capacity session. Today we're going to talk about pre-attraction and selection for recruitment. So this is kind of a topic that we know that a lot of entities do well in AP, but this is a session where we talk a little bit about just small things that you may or may not be aware of, and talking about your priorities as an MCVPTM. We know that a lot of you have shared roles as well. So, the smaller things that you may have deprioritized before, just bringing to your attention maybe some things that you can do differently so that we can implement MXP successfully and just, improve our membership experience and retention rate and leadership pipeline and things like that. So today, it's not only myself, I also have Lisa joining me. She is my GST. But just to introduce myself, if you don't know me, I am Chester, and I was MCP of ISAC in the UK in the last term, and now I'm on the GST, so I am Lisa's TL. And I will also be AI Program Innovations Manager for MXP 2022. So happy to be here. You will be seeing a lot more of me. But I will also invite Lisa to introduce herself.
Yes, hello. I'm happy to be here and have a session for you. And I'm GST team talent capacity team member, and now I'm CVP marketing and OD of ISIC in Russia.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. And so yeah, today we're going to be talking about Russia as an AP. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about three main things. The first thing is talking about how can we collect data from this recruitment to inform ourselves of the strategy for the next recruitment, why that's important and how can you actually do so. TM and marketing synergy, and therefore we have Lisa. She is not an MCVP TM, but actually an MCVP marketing and OD. Talking about from the other perspective, how can TM and marketing do synergy and make recruitment as successful as possible. And then I'll be jumping back in and talking to you about the selection and allocation process and how might we do things differently so that our MXP delivery can be a bit better. So without further ado, Lisa, you can go ahead and start.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I want to start from the retention rate, and I think that this is what we struggle with all the time. We recruit people, we onboard them, but then we are working for retention rate, and we are thinking all the time how we can improve it, what we can change in our work, and so on. But and here I have a question for you. Can you please next slide? And this question is, what is a good recruitment? Because everything starts with recruitment, and members' experience started from recruitment. And here I invite you for breakout rooms. I don't know who can help me to open breakout rooms for 2-3 people. Okay, thank you. For 4 minutes, discuss it, please, and then I will wait to hear.
Perfect. I've opened all the rooms.
Okay, hello people. I hope that you have you had really good conversation. Can someone share and give me an answer? What is a good recruitment? You can open your mic and start talking. Okay. Yeah, you can, yes.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I think when we're talking about good recruitment, it's not only about like the very first, first flow that you did for the, the customer, which is like getting their interest, but more into like how you actually can, creating a long-lasting experiences for them as a customer or as a member. So I would say that what is a good recruitment based on what we experiencing in ISAC Indonesia is the very first one you understand about the market, which is like how you actually can make sure that by by implementing ISAC membership product, it actually can connecting what actually the society needs, And then the next one is about like how you actually can understand that the applicants it actually relate with your culture, which is like emphasizing like culture fit with the local entity and also the entity itself, to ensuring that we are recruiting the best talent, not only about the best capacity, but they actually can get into like what actually we are doing right now. And then the next one, after we actually can understand about it, we should know and we should understand about the persona itself. So we actually understand later on, after they actually want to do another things in Isaac, we actually can have, like understand their reason to apply, reason to engage, and reason to, advance, in order to actually making sure that, like the long lasting experiences is happening to the member. And then maybe I would say that another one, I think more into allocation process, because I believe like what we were doing before in Isaac Indonesia, we're trying, like when someone actually having like a good skills in terms of, let's say, marketing, we always putting them in marketing things. But maybe another thing that actually happened, it is not something that they want to be. So I think it more into like, we're not only thinking about the professional or maybe like the capacity they have, but more into like what are their personal goals that actually can supporting their personal goals and also the organizational goals. So like when they are doing their job, it's not only about focusing on fulfilling the organizational goals, but in the end we can actually fulfilling their humankind potential. And then the next one maybe more into like increasing the quality of our onboarding session, not only about like having like very routine or maybe like a lot of education things, but more into like improving the quality of the education so that people can understand more and can improving their self more. I think it is my question, my answer.
Yeah, thank you so much for this amazing answer. And Luis, you can go and then we will continue.
Okay, thank you. Hi guys, I'm Luis. I'm from Vietnam, and for me, a recruitment is successful or good or not will be reflected after 6 months in the day we start our recruitment, which means that we can recruit enough people for our entity. But then whether that recruitment is successful or not, we will reflect it after 6 months to see whether that bunch of people we recruited into Isaac still stay with Isaac and still develop or not. Because the main objective and the ultimate goal of recruitment is to have people for the right position at the right time. So we need to nurture them somehow after 6 months, after they go through some probation and they develop. If they choose to leave Isaac within like a short amount of time, which means that maybe our recruitment is not like successful because we recruit wrong people into our organization. So we will reflect it after 6 months since the day we stop our recruitment.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Chester, can you please change the slide? And usually we have like two main situations. We didn't recruit enough people or we over recruit them. And if we didn't recruit enough, we are trying to manage it and create, I don't know, GD for them. And if we overachieve it, we are trying to find people who will manage all the things and so on. But the main and I think the best situation here is about ideal HR. Next slide. And how we can work on this ideal HR. Of course, we need to have enough approvals, but for enough approvals, we need to have enough accepted. Yeah, thank you. We need to have enough accepted and enough applicants to get enough accepted. And as you talked before, can you please next slide now? Yeah, everything starts from persona and everything starts from your market understanding. And of course, first thing here is about data. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think that customer data collection is the main thing here. And of course, your main customers are your members and you can ask them. And here are some tips for data collection. First of all, prepare a question based on the assumption and read carefully them. If you don't understand it, I'm sure that your members and TLs, they will not understand it also. And make sure that you can explain all your questions and you understand why you choose this question and how it can help you in the future. Also, it's about multiple choice for the questions. It can help to you to analyze everything and then your members to find the best way for them. And try to avoid open questions in surveys, because it will be really difficult to analyze them, and you will not work. Your surveys will not work in a good way. And of course, don't forget about National Engagement Survey, and you can ask your members through it, and through your LCVPs. They work with our members and TLs directly, so they know a lot of information about them. And of course, if you are TM and OD, you can do it through ICOM management, or if you are not OD, you can have a synergy with your MCVP OD and do it like this. And I think one of the important thing here, don't ask MC members and LCPs, because they're too old. So now Gen Z joining the organization, and we need to understand them, because yeah, because our MC and LCP, they spend some time in organization, and I don't think that it can really help for preparing your personas. And of course, you need to collect data at least from 70% of the members and TLs to be representative enough. And could you please change the slides? And here I have a question for you. How do you think why data is crucial? You can write it in our chat, and I will read it. Both quality is important. Yes.
I think data can help us to have relevant information about our target audience when we try to recruit. If we don't use any data, we will have a lot of assumption, and then it will lead to like a persona built on assumption, and then we cannot attract the right people. So we need to have data to back up for what are the really happening outside for the youth that we want to attract to Isaac. So data is crucial for us to verify our assumption and understand more about our customer to recruit them.
Gives you ground in an external internal context to ensure what to go in a refresh current state or not. More they evaluate the execution in terms of quality. Anything else? Maybe. Okay. I think that we can go next. And of course, we need to manage data, and we need to analyze it, because after data collection, we have one important stage. It's about data validation. Of course, you need to analyze data from the surveys that you have. And I think that's one of the main problem. That's all the time we collect a lot of data, we get a lot of data, but we didn't use it then, and we didn't analyze it in a good way. And of course, you can start with the reason why people applied for the organization, and define how many people fit each of your assumptions. And of course, it will help you in personas creation and when you have promotion. And also, you can fill out the consolidated data from the survey to each persona, and use global framework of personas to use it and to make your persona as better as possible. Next slide, please. And yes, the next step here is about persona finalization. You can do it with your marketing, because you have to design your members persona, and to promote everything, marketing have to understand how to work with it, and how we can work with personas and so on, and make sure that all points are clear and you can explain it to your network. And I think one of the main thing here is about network downscaling, how they understand it and can they use it or not, because without your network, you will it will not work at all. And of course, don't forget to ask feedback from your VPs. As I said before, they work with your people directly, and they understand better what are they, what the people, what are their motivation, and so on. And next slide, please. As I said before, everyone collects a lot of data, and it's like an ISIC, we like to do it, but many don't use it further. And I think that's the main important thing here is about implementation. And here we are talking about persona implementation. Next slide, please. Yeah, and here I want to talk about responsibilities in personas implementation between marketing and TM. Of course, from TM side, it's about aligned selection process and interview questions to your personas. And it's about working with your network to implement it at the local level. And the last thing here, create your onboarding based on the personas, of course, to help them feel better in the organization in the first 2 weeks. And for marketing, define main communication channels through your NES and other service that you can have to collect the data. You can define main communication channels, and marketing can work on it and capitalize on it. Of course, don't forget to use the language of your persona. As I said before, Gen Z is here and they're coming, and we have to understand them and use their language to work with them. And yeah, marketing have to design using persona and define the marketing messages. It's also connected with the language that we have, and define an attraction strategy and create persona-based content. And approximate timeline for creating persona, it's 1 or 2 months before the start of recruitment. I hope that you have that time. And next slide, please. We talked about like personas, about marketing synergy somehow, but now you have some time to prepare for your next recruitment, and I want you to discuss in breakout rooms what steps do you need to take to understand your market better. And you have 4 minutes for this. Krish, can you please send people in breakout rooms?
Yep, sure. I'll just open the breakout rooms right now. Perfect.
Yeah,
I've opened the rooms.
Hello, people. Okay, we have space for sharing. Who wants to share and show and tell us your steps that you need to take to understand your market better? You can raise your hands and or just open your mic.
Okay, maybe I can go.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so like what step do I need to take to understand the market better? The very first one, I think it more into understanding the audience in Indonesia. Like when you actually can define the audience, or maybe you can actually define the members that you are going to recruit, it is something that really matters enough for the very first for understanding the market. And then after that, like you have some kind of creating some kind of targeting multiple audience to actually understand which kind of person that you are going to recruit. And then the next one is, after you actually define and targeting the audience, the very next one, the process that you actually need to do is more into know where you are stand in terms of comparing to the competitor. Because I would say that like leadership organization like very much like outside ISEC. So I think like how you actually can define and understand like what makes you better than your competitor, it's something that you should understand, so actually enable you to understand about the members' pain and gains, so that after that you can shaping more to like developing their experience in ISEC. And then maybe the next one, if because I would say that in Indonesia we got a lot of people got rejected from like we only we have like 13,000 people who actually apply for ISAC, but in the end we only accepting around 1,000 people. So it means like we left around like 12,000 people who didn't get accepted in Indonesia. So basically what we are trying to do right now, we still, you know, like shaping the people that didn't get accepted in Indonesia to, you know, still you know, learning and also get the leadership experience, but it's not in ISAC member program. So that's why we're trying to shifting them into like IWA programs to, you know, like still enabling their leadership experience toward ISAC, even if it is not a member of ISAC.
Thank you. Ali, you can go.
I definitely plus one to what Iko said. I think for Isaac Australia, market research is something that we try to do, but then we don't actually integrate back into our planning, or a lot of our VPs anyway don't know how to integrate it back. Usually it's just like MC VPs who do it. So I think it's like making sure that the whole entire process is integrated and simple enough for people to do. And then of course, like working with Andy. So Andy is here. He's my NCVP marketing. So he just got elected yesterday. And like I need to work on a proper plan with him to actually do proper market research and understanding like our market. And on the side note, because like one part of my vision is like ready for work and life. So I do want the membership experience to prepare people for life. And I do want to get like context from even HR people in the real industry, ask them like what is currently lacking, and somehow integrate that into like the membership experience. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Andy, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add on what Alice already said. Like, apart from that, I also like in Australia, one of the things that we always wanted to do, but like haven't been doing that well over the past few years, is our alumni network. Like, not only for marketing, but also like for recruitment and stuff as well. And I think like with the fact that like for context, like Australia moving into the new normal with the like vaccine rollout and all the stuff like that. So we experienced a lot of change in the job market itself, and like the change just kept happening real fast. And I think in order to keep track with like the change in the market itself, what the best thing we can do is like follow up with the alumni and actually get more data from them as well. Because like especially the one who just left ISAC like 1 or 2 years ago, they explain the whole change between the old normal compared to the new normal, so they can provide us the best insight so we can run recruitment in the best way that provide the tangible ways forward for the customer need at the moment in the new market, in the new normal.
Okay, and Luis, last sharing, and we will go next.
And I'm thinking of a new way of collecting data or have more data, is that a lot of projects, Isaac project and Equa project send a lot of survey, right? So I think that we, as MCV team, we can ask those MCVB to embed some questionnaire into the survey they send to the local youth for the Equa project, so that we can still have a lot of more insight based on those projects, rather than just when we recruit, then we send another survey. We just try to embed those 5 questionnaire into the survey that Equa send into the youth, and then we can still have the relevant insight. Like we try to take advantage of all the MCVs in order to spreading the survey for us, and we can collect more data. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope that all of you will implement everything that you said now. And of course, after attracting enough applicants, enough people, we have to select and allocate them. And I pass to Chester to tell us something about it.
Okay. So yes, I'm here to talk about selection and allocation. We have 10 minutes left. I love that you guys are sharing, and therefore, I might have to speed up this part a little bit more, but that's fine. If you have any questions at any time, you can always put it on the chat. I always have my chat open. So I want to ask you and have a very small self-reflection. How does your NC's selection process look like? If one of you or anyone would like to type on the chat, like, what does your selection process look like? Is it an application form and then they come to an interview and then they have some group activities? Do they have a task? Like, is it very long? I'm really interested to see, how selection processes differ in different entities. But just a little sharing while people are typing. In the UK, we do it like job assessment centers, which is very serious. And then they come and then they find out we do roll calls. But so usually it's an application form, and then they come to this assessment center, and where they do like sales activities or some group activities, and then they have an interview. It's like a whole day thing. And then they get allocated. But I'm really curious, what other entities look like. So if anyone would like to share in the chat, I would love to see it. But the main thing that I want to talk about today is the difference between competency-based selection and motivation-based selection. And I think in the past, we have been very used to competency-based selections because that's what AI told us. Louise, if you can type on the chat, we don't have time for sharing, so I'm sorry. Yes, so because we had the competency model, we had things like if you were around, we had something called the hand, heart, and the other one I forgot. The competency model, very complicated competency model, and we were assessing people based on a lot of these competencies. Thank you, Australia. It's so different across all LCs, but we've tried to shift a 2-week trial period after the application process. Okay, interesting. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, having probation before allocation, that's I know that some entities do that, some entities do it otherwise. Vietnam does both motivation, culture fit, competency. We don't put competency on top because we value fitness rather than competency. Great, amazing. So we're halfway there. But what I will say is, I think what you will find in all of this MXP changes is that we know that we need to improve our selection processes. We know we need to improve the membership experience, but at the same time, the systems that we have in place right now don't actually support our intentions yet. And therefore, we know that there is an ideal that we're working towards. And so it's for up to us and the TM network to look into our current systems and whether that supports our ultimate goal of improving the membership experience and getting more people to join and stay in ISEC. So I'll speak about our starting point because I do think how we approach recruitment determines the rest of the membership experience. And when we talk about retention rate, which is something that we all struggle with, this is something that is worth reflecting on. So if the way that you recruit or your MC, maybe you as TM, you don't approach approach recruitment this way, but if your MC, your LCPs or LCVPs approach it a different way, then the membership experience will look different. What do I mean by this? Is that if you approach recruitment with the sole intention of achieving our goals, because that's what it was before, right? And that's what LCs are used to. That means that JDs are already defined. Recruitment is the intention of recruitment is to find the best talent to fill those JDs, and the end goal is the performance of the program or the department. So how well we do an exchange, how well we bring in money, etc. And that's it, right? We treat, it's like a company. That's sole intention is to make money, let's say. If you approach recruitment in a way to support individual development, which I all know in the room you guys all agree with, I hope, then if you approach it this way, JDs are designed based on members' needs. Recruitment is to find people who can develop the most in ISEC, and the end goal is to maximize the members' development, and the performance in the program or department is an indirect result. So you can see that the mindset that we enter recruitment can change how we approach the entire membership experience. And that is something that is very important to remember and to understand about your network first, which one they are on, and how can you facilitate that change management. So I feel like, this is very, very obvious. But the main question is, why haven't we succeeded in implementing second approach like globally? I know that some entities already do this very well, but why haven't we done this in general? Because the first approach is a lot easier. Imagine your LCVPs. They are like, I don't know, 19, 20 years old, trying to understand HR, right? The second approach requires a lot more technical skill, like JD design, and like how do you actually understand the motivation of someone through an interview process. They need a deep understanding of each program and what members will be doing in each function so that they can make connections like, oh, this person can learn this if they do this, right? But if they don't have that understanding, they will not be able to make those recommendations to the rest of their EB. Or if that's a team leader, they won't be able to pick members based on those things. And what do they rely on? They might see someone at a assessment center and be like, oh, this person is so confident, I should put them in sales. That's all, because that's the basic information and basic knowledge that they rely on. And therefore, if we want to successfully implement the second approach, that we want ISEC to be a developmental platform, then you really need to look at training starting now for your next recruitment peak. What are the things, what are the mindsets that you need to change in your LCVP network or even wider LC network, right? So in terms of the process, the selection process itself, 5 minutes left, let's go. What we are used to in terms of the old GET process is, I will skip through this, right? Personas and JDs are created based on delivery exchanges. You know, you remember there was a Google Slides called the Big Book of JDs, all based on how to deliver exchanges. Selection process is designed to test competency, candidates' competencies and soft skills, motivations, as you guys said. Allocation is done on candidate performance and existing competencies. Oh God, I skipped that. And then you do the PDP, right? You do PDP after allocation because according to the GET process, that's when you do it. What we encourage you to try, this is not anything that we have on paper yet, but we want entities to try, is yes, you have general JDs and competencies. Especially about competency, I want to talk a little bit about that for a minute, because globally we are still kind of developing the global competency model, but it doesn't stop you from doing your own. But what I will say, for those that went to MXP Summit, you will know, and was in my group, now that the lead or the LDM is out, I really encourage you to be very, very familiar with that because it has a lot of connection with MXP. And with the new LDM, you have the new, not new, they've been always there, the values, but they have the new defining elements, which can be the competencies that any member can develop in any function or department. So you can use those as a basic value proposition or basic competency that these are the things you can learn. But you can also think about, okay, if they're in OGX, they can probably learn about marketing. If they're in ICX, they can learn about sales. They can learn about customer experience. You can, bring in some of those business skills in as well to make your member aware that these are the things that you can learn about in ISEC. And then selection process is based on motivation. I also think our selection processes can be too complicated for what it is. So think about how you can simplify it as well. The first PDP is done during selection to understand what the member wants to develop. The general JD is then adapted with activities that the member might want to do and can develop in. And then allocate the member into the team, also based on other factors such as the team leader's style, working style, whether this person fits into the rest of the team dynamics, and things like that. From what I've seen, at least, these are factors that we don't really take into consideration when we talk about selection. So yes. Also, I'm not sure if you had that session yet. I forgot the agenda, but the talent growth session that you have, they will be talking about the new PDP template, which also connects to this. So, 1 second. Okay. Very briefly, I want to talk about motivation-based and competency-based interviews. I'm not sure what you guys do yet in terms of motivation-based interviewing, but this is something that hopefully jolts some of your memory and helps you think about your current selection process. So tell me a time when. this is the most typical competency-based questions that you will find in a lot of job interviews. And obviously, when it's on Google, we Google it and copy and paste it into our question banks, right? At least that's what I did when I was MCVPT. So what sort of questions will there be? Tell me a time when you faced conflict when working in a bigger team, your biggest achievement so far. Tell me a time when you worked under pressure, blah, 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 blah. Now, what I mean by competency-based interview, it doesn't have to be like hard skills. Things like empathy, things like working under pressure, those are competencies as well, that a lot of companies use this technique to find out whether you have this competency. What I will say is these questions are not bad, but I want you to put yourself back into like the shoes of an 18 to 20-year-old who just graduated high school and is coming to university. What would you answer? Or maybe when actually you were asked these questions when you joined ISEC, how did you answer? What I want to emphasize is that a typical 18 to 20-year-old won't have extensive team experiences. Maybe they were in a sports team, cool. Maybe they had a group project, right? But they will reference things that are in their childhood or school, which is not wrong, like absolutely not the fault of the candidates. But imagine also a 20-year-old team leader assessing these experiences. I mean, when I was 15, I was in a basketball team and blah, 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 right? These are not very like the team experience that we're used to. And so therefore it's very, very difficult for a team leader or whoever is doing the interview to understand the motivation that they're showing through the examples that they're giving. At least typically, unless like you have a very, very cool membership that understands a lot about HR. So what I mean when I said simplifying your selection process is also simplifying the questions. So actually I would say you don't have to completely avoid them, but avoid them as much as possible. These questions, tell me a time when blah, 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 blah. When you look at motivational, motivation-based interviewing, who are you? Why are you here? You know, what goals have you set for yourself? Maybe they don't know, and that's fine. You can ask things like, what is important to you? Maybe they'd be like, I would like to make money because financial freedom is important to me, or I want to be creative, or I want to help people. They directly tell you what is important to them and what is their motivation. Things like, what attracted you to ISEC? How do you think ISEC can help you develop? And this is where, you know, even before the selection process, if you brief them on, this is the LDM, these are the skills that you may be able to develop, these are the opportunities that you're going to get, then they can answer this question in a more kind of specific way. It's like, oh, I heard that you can meet a lot of people in ISEC and I want to do that because I'm really shy and I want to meet more people. You know, that gives them more context. You can find a lot of these questions online, but be very careful again, right? Again, put yourself in the shoes of an 18-year-old. Can you answer these questions in a good way? So yeah, more open-ended questions so the team leaders can assess whether they can benefit from ISEC. The main thing again is, so actually when you guys were in the breakout room, we asked Krish, the CCP, what is a good recruitment? And he said, in my LC, it's kind of like half the people will be able to advance ISEC and contribute to ISEC, and the other half ISEC contributes back to them, right? And there's no right or wrong answer, but we want to shift towards an ISEC where everyone can develop through ISEC and they can maximize their potential through ISEC and not just contribute to ISEC in terms of like exchange or bringing in money and things like that, right? So the ideal scenario, I made a little graphic. I'm making it very easy to understand. And so I'm sorry if you think I'm treating you like babies, but I'm just trying to make it very clear. So the team leader during attraction, say like you're doing marketing, you talk about in ISEC, you can develop leadership values as well as join our sales teams to improve, to practice your communication. And then this person is like, sounds cool, I will apply. And then during the interview, this potential newbie says, I actually wanted to meet new people from different cultures because I haven't met that many people before and build my confidence. And so what your team leader should be able to do, or your EP or your LCVP, is, okay, what team can I put her in so that she can achieve these goals of meeting new people and building her confidence. So it can be like, okay, I can put her in an ICX team so she can have contact with both international EPs and businesses through meetings. Also, on top of that, I can recommend her international ESD opportunities. So you have your team, your LCVPs, whatever LCP team leader needs to have a very clear idea of what opportunities are available in ISEC for someone to develop. If they don't, they wouldn't know how to guide this person and design this member's experience. Okay, and it all starts from selection and allocation. So when we talk about ideal HR, you will see the slide again in another session that me will deliver. But something, and I'll end on this note, is when you're thinking about recruitment, I think it's really easy to think about only that peak and that semester. But as Louise has said, that you need to review in 6 months, right? But actually, it is a much longer game than even 6 months. It's years. Membership is about years, not semesters. And I know it's really hard as an FCVP that does it for 1 year, but think about the long game. And one kind of concept I want you to start thinking about is this pyramid. You would have seen it as in like government documents, probably. It's about population. You will see the same type of pyramid. So imagine this is the bottom level. So let's say that's members, team leaders, LCVP, LCP, MC, let's say. It technically looks like that. The number of positions available should technically look like that, and it should look like a normal pyramid. Or more extremely, globally, it looks more like this, or with entities with a lot of people might look like this. But what actually happens sometimes is this, is that you see the same number of people in leadership as the bottom level. At least that was the case in my entity as well, because maybe team leaders are saying, you know, I can't handle that many people, and therefore I want less people in my team. And then suddenly their team reduces in size because someone quits, or a team leader quits as well. And then you end up with this. And then if you think long-term, imagine these levels will move up, which means that you only have the same amount of members available for the same number of positions, which is not realistic because not everybody should get what they apply for, or like that's, you know, there should be less positions available than the number of people below it. As well as you need to always assume that people will leave, right? So think about what your pyramid looks like. So to summarize what I just said, think about your pyramid, think about your selection processes, and think about your LC's mindset and how you might, you know, help the change management for that. Okay, so I will leave you with this. Any question? We don't have time for questions. I'm really sorry, but we are on Telegram. Also, I'm obviously here if you're curious about like what I'm thinking about MXP and things like that. You're always welcome to message us. But we will finish with this message: is membership experience starts with recruitment. So good luck with that. And yeah, thank you very much. I am told that you have a break. Maybe CCP can help me because we are over time.